What's up, college football addicts? We have a jam-packed episode for you today, so let's get right to it. There is a ton of smoke pouring in from multiple sources on this, so we're going to run you through everything we know on the developing situation today with Lane Kiffin. I'm not joking about this. We have so much to cover in this episode, so it'll make many of you happy. Let's get right to it. So in a minute, as we promised, we're going to play a video of the biggest voice in college football media making his call about where Lane is going. But before we get to that, you need to understand exactly how the situation went down these past few days. What led us to this place and ultimately this prediction? Because it's truly an unbelievable story. We've never seen a coaching saga play out like this. And that's not hyperbole. I'm not kidding about it. The story lives up to the hype. So Sunday night, Josh Pate, the sanest voice in college football, started the ball rolling on his show. In a second, I'll let you listen to what he said. But first, I do want you guys to realize the immense amount of pressure that is put on a program when Josh Pate drops a truth bomb. Pate doesn't play. In a lot of ways, he represents a lot of voices of the fans. So let's listen to what he said.
Their business too. And I'm just telling you, this is how I would be if I were Ole Miss, if I were Keith Carter, if I were the big money people there. Knowing full well I've given this guy everything he needs, everything he's ever asked for. There are very few no's that Lane Kiffin has gotten in Oxford, Mississippi. At some point, I'm getting an answer from him, and it's going to happen before the Egg Bowl. I'm putting a new contract in front of him. Everything he says he needs is on this piece of paper, and he's either going to sign it, and we're going to move on, and the noise is going to die down, and we're going to put out a big announcement right before we play Mississippi State, like A&M did with Elko yesterday, or we're going to understand we'll wrap up this regular season, and then we'll go our separate ways. And I'm just telling you, if I'm Ole Miss, Pete Golding is going to be my head coach in the playoff.
But Pate here was really just getting started because he decided to unload on Lane Kiffin. I'll say this. He kept it respectful. But nonetheless, he didn't mince any words. He said that the way that Lane is posting on Instagram and X would really piss him off if he was an Ole Miss fan. He said, and I quote, "It's like watching a 10-year-old play games about what fourth grade class he's going to be in." End quote. And it just got better from there. He went on to compare the whole drama act to a middle school play. He also pointed out that Ole Miss was in a much better position as a program now than they were 5 years ago. So Josh Pate dropped the hammer and he planted the flag, declaring that if it were up to him, Ole Miss should give Lane Kiffin an ultimatum, telling him it's either time to crap or get off the pot, and telling him that we're done playing these stupid little games, and telling him that you're going to make a decision or we're going to make it for you. So I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I watched this, it did bring a bit of a tear to my eye because it's the first time I had heard someone else in the media acknowledge what we've been saying the last couple of weeks here, that there was no chance Lane was moving to another school and coaching Ole Miss through the college football playoff. Don't get me wrong. I still believe that he will ask to coach through the playoffs to lay cover, but I absolutely know that Ole Miss is going to tell him to get lost at that point. And as far as what Pate said in regards to Lane acting like a fourth grader, I like Lane, but I think he's spot on. If I was an Ole Miss fan, I would have been furious watching the past several weeks and how they played out, especially after coach after coach after coach signed extensions and then stood with their schools. Like Pate said, Ole Miss is going to be okay. They are not the same program that Lane took over. They are a juggernaut now, and they have no intentions of going backwards, even if they have to replace Lane Kiffin. So I'm just going to have to tip my hat here to Mr. Pate because I think he captured the feelings of the Ole Miss fan base masterfully. And I think that started the dominoes falling. Moving on. And guys, I do need you to be patient for just a second. I know we promised you the ultimate insider making his call about where Lane is going. We'll get there in just a minute, but we do need to get to the second part of our story today and talk about exactly how Ole Miss decided to respond to Pate throwing down the hammer. So on Monday, On3's Pete Nakos picked up right where Pate left off. He posted on X, dropping a nuclear bomb on Lane Kiffin's timeline when he came out and posted that Ole Miss is looking for clarity about Lane Kiffin's future with the program. Brett McMurphy followed up and said, if Lane Kiffin doesn't meet the deadline, Ole Miss would have to decide if it would allow him to coach in the playoffs, sources told On3 Sports. If there's no resolution, it will be an agonizing decision for Kiffin and the Rebels. So I'm not saying that Josh Pate forced Ole Miss to respond, but in my opinion, I do think he swung such a big hammer and made such a compelling argument that it might have changed the timeline and forced Ole Miss to respond quicker than they otherwise would have. And I have to think, Ole Miss fans have an immense sense of relief and pride today. So for those folks, the Ole Miss fans, caps off to you guys. Like I told you a few days ago, we have no beef. As an FSU fan, I definitely think that Lane Kiffin belongs in Oxford. So trust me, we are cheering for the same outcome. And furthermore, if I can't have that outcome, go Tigers, Geaux, Tigers, go Tigers, because I'd much rather see Lane coaching at LSU than Florida. But I digress. What I want doesn't really matter. Now, back to my boy, Pete Nakos. I got sidetracked for a minute there, but my boy Pete wasn't even done yet. Pete had a second nuke loaded up and ready to go, revealing that Lane Kiffin's family had visited both Gainesville and Baton Rouge these last few days. Now, you guys remember the other day when we promised that a major announcement was coming on Sunday. And then we honestly had to pump the brakes a little bit. I know you guys remember because you filled up my inbox saying things like, you never knew anything. You don't know what's going on. Well, boys, I think the Sunday news may have just been delayed by a day or two, because sending the family to potential job sites seems like pretty big news to me. And maybe that's just me, but it seems very unlikely to me that Lane is sending his family around to these places and is going to stay in Oxford. But stranger things have happened. They happen on Netflix. Maybe his family visited Gainesville and Baton Rouge and didn't like them. Maybe they don't like Gatorade. Maybe they don't like Raising Cane's. But that seems unlikely. That new car smell will get you almost every time. You guys know. You went there just looking for a test drive. You're not looking to negotiate. The next thing you know, you're driving home in a beautiful new F-150. The new car smell got you. And LSU fans, you guys have been sitting back, just playing it cool, letting everyone else make all this UF noise. You guys have been playing possum with this and quietly working behind the scenes. And now you've gotten far closer than anyone thought that you might be. So shout out to LSU and their fans. Getting his family to visit was a major step. Moving on. As promised, the biggest voice in college football made his call about where Lane is going. Here's the infamous Josh Pate predicting where he thinks Lane Kiffin will go. Let's listen in.
If I had to guess right now, my mind has changed on this a few times. If I had to guess, if I have to put my name on paper right now and then I don't get to change it again no matter what information comes my way, my guess is he's going to go to Florida. That's my guess.
So Pate is guessing that he goes to Florida, which is really unfortunate. And all the sources that I know over at UF are still very confident on where they stand. They may have been off a little bit on the timing of everything, but they still are crowing very loudly. So if you forced me to make a call, much like Pate, my best guess is still Florida, which to me personally is still a tragedy. Now, Ole Miss fans, it doesn't have to go down this way. You guys need to be working on this. Get out there and roll up your sleeves and keep this man in Oxford where he belongs. I know you guys are growing tired of feeding his ego, but can't you guys body shame him a little bit more? See if you guys can get the man a GLP-1 or something and keep him in Oxford. Anyway, to close out, I just want comments today on where you think Lane is going. Let me know down below. Make sure you're on the Sleeper app and you get 100% match up to $100 by using our code CFA. We appreciate Sleeper for their support. All of our content brought to you by them this season. We will talk to you guys soon on College Football Addiction. Let me know where Lane's going down in the comments.